coaching have really found it useful. So anyway, so Bruce Firestone and Randy Irwin and Gemma will be here soon, LeGresley. And we're going to talk about the crack house, not the actual crack house, the crack house that is being retrofitted and renovated top to bottom by Randy and Gemma. So you know, one of the things that I think you're experiencing now, Randy, is you have to find out, and you know this, I'm telling you stuff you already know, but I'm just going to point it out that you have to find stuff that you're really good at, do that, and find stuff that other people are better at than you and get them to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think on a major project like renovating what the crack house, you know, the fires and all the other the issues that you have, you know, probably would have been best to start with somebody like Habib and Ali.
Mm-hmm. Well, I still have to find out all the problems first. So we've done all the destruction. And now we've got Dustin working on the plans and talking to the city and going that route. So now we're almost at the point where I can hand it over to somebody like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But it's really important to put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes. I mean, you're the CEO of your own life, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, as you know, my wife does all the property management for our family, and if she handed that over to me, I would not do as good a job.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in property management, but she is, and she does a fine job. And she's detail oriented. She's good with tenants. She's good with contractors, renovators, repair people, all of that. So you know, and she has the time.
Yeah. So that's the thing with me is right now I'm doing all of that. I'm doing all my own property management on my other properties. I've got 2 other renovations that I'm managing as well, plus doing my 2 contracts I'm still working full time at home.
Yeah. And you've got a little baby.
And we got a baby and a dog and a father that live with us. So life is a bit crazy right now. So.
Yeah. You know, when my students would come to me, Randy, when I was a full-time professor, and they would say, Professor, you know, my grandmother has died for the 3rd time this semester. Can I have an extension on my, you know, on my assignment? I would say, really? Your grandmother's died 3 times already this year. Oh, okay. Just this term alone. Mm-hmm. The answer is no. And I would talk about when I was at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, I had a full-time job, which was more than a full-time job. We were doing some really great work, I think, at that time, and I was putting in a lot of hours. We had just bought a new house. My wife was pregnant with our first child, and we bought a small house, and like 6 weeks after we bought it, she tells me she's pregnant. So I needed to add another bedroom, which I built myself. I added on the bedroom. Then I was enrolled at the University of New South Wales doing a Master's of Engineering Science, and I would have to go to classes twice a week for 3 hours in the evenings. Then on the weekends, I had to work on my master's thesis. I still had time to see my friends. What I didn't have time to do, even I was very young, you know, I was 23 or 24. What I didn't have time to do, Randy, was drink, you know, my weekends away, you know, and party. So, you know, maybe I missed out on some of that. But, you know, so I tell them that story. And I said, look, for every day you're late, I'm going to dock 2%. So if you're 10 days late, you're marked out of 80% instead of 100%. So if you get 80% on your assignment, 80 times 80 is 64%. If you get 70%, you know, you barely passed. So they some of the students really didn't like me. You should have seen some of my reviews at the end of the semester, because, you know, students can review me. Yep. And some of them were excellent. Maybe most of them, I think, were actually pretty good. But a few of them would say, "What a hard ass," and you know. But I just wasn't that sympathetic to people. It would be different if they were in the hospital for 3 weeks or something like that. But they would make up preposterous stories. You know, like, I feel bad because my girlfriend left me. Oh, okay, yeah, I feel bad for a couple of days. Now get on with your assignment. I just wasn't that sympathetic.
But now you have more time to do your homework because you don't have anybody to distract you.
Probably I didn't make that connection, Randy. But you know, many of those students, you know, I've taught thousands of young students, and many of them have reached back to me now 20 years later, you know, really actually quite happy that I was a bit tougher on them than most of their other profs, because that's real life. You know, if you don't get the crack house renovated and you don't get these other renovations done, you know, and you don't get them rented and refinance and all that, you know, who suffers?
Exactly.
You
Yep.
and Jenna.
Yep.
So can you tell me, how's you said you're 90% complete on Cambridge. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, in terms of, yeah, so we did a lot of exterior stuff. So I added a patio. I put some doors in so people can access their little patio space.
Yeah, cool.
One of the tenants, I had negotiated an increase in rent, $100 a month, and then it goes up another 100 next year. So it's not a big win for me, but I wanted to get the rents more reasonable. And yeah, their tenants had pretty high expectations, even though, in fact, the one guy complained the whole way through it that, you know, he was talking about compensation, how I'm going to owe him money because I was delayed on my project. I'm like, dude, you've paid $300 more in rent in the last 3 months, and I've added $5,000 worth of stuff already. And you're complaining because it was late because of a pandemic. Like, anyway.
Well, you know, just getting lumber is not easy today, Randy.
Exactly, but they have no sympathy. I know,
well,
that's
you
part of the
have
problem, right?
people. My wife and one of our contractors was in Home Depot just a couple of weeks ago, and about a third of the store was completely empty, and they just can't. You know, the supply chains have been disrupted.
Yeah.
You can't get a propane fireplace, for example. You can't get lumber. I mean, just really simple stuff that we were doing on our properties. You know, what would have taken maybe 2 weeks to do. You know, it's taking months.
No, and that was that situation, and literally he wanted compensation because, and I was saying, well, first of all, at that point, Home Depot wasn't even open. That's when they closed it. So this is going back to like April, May timeframe, right? May, June.
Right.
My guy Rob couldn't get anything. He had to order online ahead of time, and then a week later he'd get an order. And if you forgot one bolt or something, you had to order again, right? It was a bit of a nightmare to get anything done. So.
I broke one of our really good lawnmowers. You know, I just busted it. I ran over a stump. It was just stupid on my part. And we have now bought, because we have a number of properties, we got to cut the grass. We have now bought 3 lawnmowers, and none of them work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, both Toro and Honda, all of their plants are shut. And so we now have 3 lawnmowers, none of them work. And the grass in our place is looking, I'm sure I'm going to get an order from the city of Ottawa any day now. You know, the tenants are really good. They haven't complained. And we've told them, look, we literally have 3 lawnmowers, 2 of them brand new that don't work. And, you know, and you go to these stores and you say, look, you sold me a Toro lawnmower. You know, these are expensive and it doesn't work. Yeah, sorry, we don't have any more. We'll order some parts. You know, there's a couple of springs missing and a few other things. How long will that take? We don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, people just have to take a little bit of Valium with their water. You know, everybody
so back to the crack. Sorry, I wanted to go. You wanted to finish the Cambridge one?
Just before you leave the Cambridge property, I thought you were going to put an addition on too.
No, we didn't even start that. So that's still in the planning phase. Yeah, that's a huge project.
So that'll be next year.
When the crack house came on, that went on.
So you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to do that until you finish the crack house.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that could happen. So
okay, all right. So, but even so,
well, then we fixed the fence. We did a bunch of exterior work. So there's one little roof that I said I would put over top.
I remember that. Yeah.
No, that's the only piece that's outstanding, and that. My guy Dave is going to be doing that in the next week or 2. So.
Can you take pictures of this stuff when you complete it, Randy, and share that with me, because that really helps me understand better what you're doing. And I've told you, Brian Dagenet is a young man I coach who's very good at property management, is a very good investor, very savvy guy. By adding patios like you're doing to a number of his properties in Vanier, over about 2 years, he was able to increase his rents 30%. Just when people would come, you know, people would leave, and they'd come and they'd see this. They have a little bit of outdoor space, and you know, for the short summers that we have, they'd be able to have some, you know, a barbecue and stuff like that, or play a couple of games outside. He found just that alone increased his rents 30% over 2 years by adding private outdoor space. And what he told me is, he said, Bruce, I could have done a kitchen renovation for, you know, $6,000. I could have done a bathroom renovation for $4,000. I could have spent $10,000. Instead, what I did was I just repainted the cabinets in the kitchen, and I cleaned up the bathroom a little bit. You know, maybe spend $1,000 or $1,200 on that, and then did a patio for, you know, $1,500 or $2,000. And he said that was a better investment and had a higher impact on the tenants than a brand new kitchen and a brand new bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Now, if I could only get my tenants to leave, that would be gold.
Well, you know, that they do leave, but you have to be patient, unfortunately. So tell me
Very
more
slowly now.
about the triplex. What's happening there?
Okay, so as I said, we're pretty much finished discovering all the bad things and doing the destruction. Basically, everything is bad about that place. Next week, so I've had my guy Gary basically working there full time. In fact, he's sleeping there as well, which is a bit odd, but he's happy. So next week, the Mold Busters company. So because of the potential lawsuit, or, you know, the potential problem with the previous owner, that 50,000 that I'm still holding.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a proper remediation company to come and deal with the mold. If I paid Gary to do it, then it looks like I'm sketchy as well. So they're coming next week. It's about 15,000 down from the 25, because we did some of it already for them. So they're coming next week. They're going to rip every piece of drywall and subfloor out of the second floor, and then fog the building with this stuff to kill all the mold. So I've already sent that to my lawyer. So I had 2 different estimates, and they were the more reasonable ones. So I'm counting on that. That's coming from the 50,000. That
Absolutely. There's no way you're giving up on that 50 grand.
Yeah. So right now, what my lawyer said, well, Steve Shepard, you know Steve. So he says, yeah, they have to come asking for the money first, and then we give them a letter saying this is why we're not giving it back. So I have all the evidence lined up
and you
for
should
that.
Document every hour that you spend on it, that Steve spends on it, because your time is worth something, Randy. You've heard me say this before. Gemma did prepare a bit of an agenda for us and sent it to me a couple of hours ago. You know, on all the projects that we manage, we do take into account the time that I spend on it and that my wife spends on it. And when we do our, you know, I've told you this before, when we do our refinancings, we show every dollar that we spent. You know, we're renovating a commercial building right now, and we're spending money on structure, lighting, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. But also I get Dawn, my wife Dawn, to record her hours. Pat O'Connor, who's one of our handymen who's been working for us, I think at least 25 years, maybe longer. We document every hour he spends on it. And I don't spend that much time on it, but you know, I do. And I charge the project $125 an hour for my time, and $85 an hour for Dawn's time. And I think it's $35 or $45 an hour for Pat. And we actually add that, and we disclose that, of course, to the appraiser, that this renovation includes management time, project management time, development management time, and handyman time, and these are the billing rates. And we do get in almost every case, I think we've had the you know, the appraisers agree. So keep track.
That's one part that we don't have good records of, but certainly
but you should.
Anything I'm paying for, I have, but any of my own time, I don't have.
But you should do that, because even if the appraiser refused to recognize that, or the legal thing, refused to recognize it, I think if you ever actually ended up in a court of law, as long as do you have a Google Calendar?
Yep.
So you probably put in there, Gemma goes over to the crack house, Randy goes over. It's probably somewhere in your calendar.
Yeah, no, I don't keep that. I just go back and forth every hour or whenever it's. Yeah.
But listen, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a
We need to
very
track some of
valuable
that.
thing to do, to track your hours,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be to the nearest 15 minutes. You know, I track our time to the nearest hour. So, you know, if Dawn's there for 4.5 hours, it'd be 4.5 hours. If she's there for 4 hours and 45 minutes, it's still 4.5 hours. If she's
Yeah.
there for 5 hours and 15 minutes, it's just 5 hours. So we round it. We usually round it down. But you know, for example, my Google Calendar has virtually everything that I do. So if anybody ever wants to know, whether it's you or anybody else, did you spend any time, you know, looking at Randy's mid-month report? Well, it would actually be in my Google Calendar. Did I spend any
Yeah.
time, you know, managing, you know, this project or that project? It's in my calendar. And certainly as you get into third-party property management, you and Gemma, especially Gemma, if she's running it, have to be very disciplined with your calendar.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you make sure that she understands that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And I'll
she will
make a
probably
note
end
as
up,
well.
you know, billing her time, and certainly accounting for it. And it's very easy. You know, I've got Google Calendar on my computers, but it's also on my tablet. It's on my iPhone. It's, you know, they sync everywhere.
Yep.
And it's not that hard to say, you know, I spent an hour and a half at XYZ property talking to plumber A.
Okay.
And,
No, I do it for my clients, or that's how I bill my clients, right? I work
there you
every
go.
day.
But you
I
should,
did an hour of this work and 6 hours of this work, and
exactly. So when it comes time to running a proper third party property management business, you know, you don't really have to have a very expensive, you know, process. Google Calendar, I think, is free.
yep, cool.
And you know, you can search the Google Calendar as well. So if I put Randy, I do this all the time. If I put Irwin in or LeGresley into my calendar, it up pops everything I've done with you and for you. And so if you know you ever took me to task, I hope you won't, but if you ever did, I would be able to say, well,
This is what I did.
these hours that I've actually put in, so you would know. And it's very specific. You know, if you had to ask me to do something, you know, to do a comparative market analysis, the Google Calendar would say comparative market analysis 1, 2, 3, 4, any street, Randy Irwin, Gemma LeGresley, and so even if I forget the address, I'll find it under Irwin or LeGresley.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay?
Yeah, that's one of our areas of weakness, and Gemma's much better at that than me. So once she gets a little more, you know, she doesn't have much traction on the whole property management yet either,
she told me that,
because she's managing Alex, you know. So she's got her full-time job already. So yeah, so the crackle. So as I said, I really do need somebody now like Habib and Ali. They said if I did, I met them on site actually last week or the week before.
Did you like them?
Yeah, they seem great. They were quite experienced. They told me honestly, if it wasn't for you, they would never even go near this project. Like they wouldn't even think about it. Right? They looked at the house and they're like, if you didn't know Bruce, we would tell you no thanks.
Wow, I'm so pleased to hear that.
So I'm hoping that I can still engage them. They may or may not. So what we've gone to now is we left it as, once I get the stuff from Dustin, the plans with the city and the engineer, because we need to start, the engineer's got to finish the structural enhancements so that I can fix the structure. Then I can say, okay, here's what you need to deliver. So they have a worksheet of, okay, we need to build a wall here, we need this. And once they have that, then they can give me a proper estimate. Otherwise, they said they really can't.
So one of the things I've done with projects that are as difficult as this one, with the people that I trust, people like Habib and Ali, people like Pat O'Connor and his son PJ O'Connor, these are people I've worked with for a long time, is I will hire them to do difficult projects on a time and materials basis.
Yeah.
And you know, because I trust them. I'm not suggesting that you have to do that, but if you like Habib and Ali and you trust them, and you have another difficult project to do, you know, in my opinion, you could say, look, just go and fix it, and just keep track of your time. Any materials you buy, I'm going to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so that they have no risk. I mean, the risk is on you, but if you trust them, you know, like Pat O'Connor and Habib Rahimi, you know, these guys have worked with me for a long time, and you know, they're painfully honest. Guys, I've told you this, guys like Dustin Poole, the young architectural technologist that you're working with,
Yep.
The only argument I have with Dustin is he doesn't charge me enough. And, and it's true. I mean, he'll send me a bill for, he did some work on this commercial building that we're renovating, and I think he charged me $2,000 for all the work he did, the drawings he did, the building permit applications, going to get it, and going to actually get the permit. And I said, Dustin, that's just not enough. And I sent him an extra 1,500 bucks, even though he didn't ask for it. Just, these are such fine people that you want to be as generous as you're capable of being, in my opinion. I'm not saying you should do that, but I have done that with Habib and with Pat and with Dustin and other people that I like and trust. So most of the arguments I have is that they're not charging enough.
Wow, that's a good argument, Dan. So yeah, so I need somebody like Habib and Ali. I have Dustin already, so I'm happy with his work so far. Things are dragging a bit because the city's not very responsive either. He's waiting,
But you are going to end
the
up
engineering side.
You are going to end up with 3 units.
Well, 4 really, but yeah.
Remind me where the 4th one is?
An augmented suite on the main floor. So.
Right. Okay, I remember that. That's great.
So that's the plan.
I can't wait to see it when it's finished. I know we've talked about this before, but once it is finished and before any tenants move in, get yourself really good professional pictures.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So,
I do that with all of my buildings, both commercial and residential. I use a young woman, her name's Christine Aubrey, to do the photographs. I think she charges me 100 or 150 bucks. I have the photographs, quote unquote, forever. And, they look fantastic, and I can use them over and over again for the next decade or more.
Perfect.
All right. So have you got any sense of how much this thing is going to cost once you're finished, the crack house?
Well, I don't have numbers in the budget. I started putting some rough stuff together to estimate, and yeah, it's at least 150. But I don't even know at this point some of the things. Like we're asking the city if we can build a staircase in the front.
That's right.
A 3-story staircase, like a louvered staircase, because of the access to the 3rd floor in the back is really not fixable. And it's not, if I wanted to build it again the same way, it would be impossible to get permits. Essentially, I'd have to cut a hole down through the house and put footings and posts.
No way.
So we're asking the city if I can do a structure on the front, but I have no idea if that's a $30,000 structure or a $50,000 structure, or what the louvered staircase to the 3rd floor might cost, right?
Well, it's going to be expensive, but the louvered staircase, you've seen Patrick Rutherford's design. You remember that, his quadrant?
Yep.
It has been a huge success. Just huge. I mean, it looks really nice. You remember the pictures I showed you of that?
Yeah, I saw the pictures. I'd like to actually see one in person if that's possible. I think there's one on Somerset or something. There was one.
Do you mind if I boot up my email and connect you to Patrick Rutherford?
That would be great. I appreciate that.
Because they've done them, and once you've seen them, hang on a second. I'll just I'll share my screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. Just because that's more fun for you than just sitting there looking at my head. As nice a head as it is.
There we go.
I should spell it right.
Yeah, so it seems like the city doesn't know much about them either, so I think they're concerned. But it's really an exterior structure, and then we'll close it in. So it's basically going to be like a deck for now, a deck with stairs, right? So
I guess. So I'll just put this in here.
Can you bring me some glasses?
I know he's got one. Here's the picture. Hang on a sec. This is the Randy. This was the design drawing.
Yep.
And then this, if you could see it on the screen here. What? Oops, that's too big. I'll reduce it to.
Oh, that's the actual. Okay, that's cool. That's what I needed.
Sorry, that didn't work out too good. Sometimes whatever. Just see if I can-
Oh, so they do have like an exterior door.
Yeah, so these are, this is fantastic. I just love what the boys have done. Patrick, there's two Patricks there, Patrick Rutherford and Patrick England. So, so can you see it okay on the screen?
Yeah, reasonably, yeah, it's a good shot.
All right, so.
It looks like it's made out of concrete too.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it might be. Might be stucco for all I know. But
stucco on top of wood, maybe.
But you know, when you go in the door here, you know, you go up some stairs. There's the entrance to the first suite here and here. Then you go up the second suite here, here, up third, and you know it goes right into the setbacks. It has been approved by the city, and the louvers do keep rain and snow out. You get if you get that very fine snow, you might get a little bit in there, but you're not going to get an accumulation.
Nice.
And it looks like it's part of the building. You know, they've got a real, you know, proper door on it, etc. So when you drive by, you just, oh, that looks nice. But it, in fact, is an external staircase.
Yeah, cool.
And it's in the setbacks. So I'm going to say, please meet Randy Irwin and vice versa. Randy is a developer and investor and is going to build a 3-story louvered staircase for one of his projects. Do you think he could see one for real, i.e. in real life? I'm not exactly sure where the where it is, but Patrick,
even if I could just talk to the guy on the phone, I think I can get all the info.
You know how I do my email addresses, right?
Yep, yep.
So you've got Patrick Rutherford. There's his, I think that's his cell number, and then Irwin, and there's his cell number. So there you go.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Excellent.
You'll really like Patrick England and Patrick Rutherford. If you were doing a big project, you might hire them. If you ever do a 25-unit building in Britannia, you know, those are the guys. Those are the guys to do it with because they are really good at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dustin, I think, is allowed to go up to 6,000 square feet or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Dustin's working out good so far. He seems, you know, he doesn't know all the answers, but he's trying to get everything.
So I don't know what the cost is, but it's going to be expensive. I mean, a 3 levels. You're going to buy the stairs. You're not going to build them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can buy them way cheaper than you can build them. So it depends. Wood stairs, maybe. Steel, probably a little bit more expensive. But Patrick Rutherford and Patrick England, the guy I just introduced you to, they will know what the cost is. They will know whether it's steel or it's wood. I'm sure it's steel, but you should.
I'm sure that one is either concrete or steel. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so that's expensive. You know, but it really makes the building work.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I wanted to put in these louvered stairs, right? Do you remember?
No, I forget now. Little entrances to.
I'll show you. People think I'm crazy, but then they probably.
Gym. Then you want to put a gym, and you want to put different.
No.
Augmented.
No, maybe I never showed it to you.
A garden.
So what I wanted to put in the louvered stairs were some dumbwaits.
Oh.
And can you see it okay on the screen?
Yeah, I remember now.
And I said to Patrick Rutherford and Patrick England, you know, when you're building 3-story or even 4-story walk-ups, that's okay. I like walking stairs. You know, it's good for me at my age, at any age, your age or mine, doesn't matter. It's good to walk stairs. You know, when I was teaching at the university, I'd walk across the campus with a student, and as long as the classroom was up no more than 10 flights, I'd go up 10 flights of stairs with my briefcase. And it's good for people to continue to do stairs. But I'm not sure I would want to drag my groceries or my suitcases or whatever, or my furniture for that matter, up the stairs. So I said to Patrick and Patrick, the two Patricks, next time you build one of these, make the louvered stairs a little bigger and just put a dumbwaiter in. They went, whoa, that solves a lot of issues, because it's much cheaper than an elevator.
Yeah.
You know, an elevator, you have to have a license for it. You have to maintain it because it's got human beings in it. But
Yeah.
you know, a dumbwaiter, you can put your groceries in it. You can put your suitcase in it, up or down. You know, and it really will make the buildings work better.
Yeah, I don't think in their case the budget's going to handle this one, but I'll keep it
No,
in mind for.
that's for a 25-unit building.
Yeah.
For a 3-unit building, people
Yeah.
are going to hump their groceries up.
Carry your own groceries. Yeah.
Sorry, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and what you can do is you could buy a knapsack, because you can carry a lot more on your back than you can in your hands.
Yep.
Like I have a motorcycle. I don't know if you know that. It's just a little electric motorcycle. I actually gave it to my wife for her 50th birthday. And then she crashed it, and she said she never wanted to use it again. So guess who gets the motorbike?
Yep. What kind of bike is it?
Oh, it's I'll see if I can find a picture of it.
Like a scooter? Or?
Yeah, I'll show it to you. It's like a Vespa.
Well, I think.
Right. So let's assume, let's assume it's a $50,000 staircase. What's your budget for this for the crack house?
Oh, assuming that then we're pushing 180 probably.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 200 grand by the time you finish.
Yeah.
And you bought it.
I still have to find that money too, right? So
Yeah, once you're on water.
I only have half of that money, so.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But you bought it for 605.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 50 grand, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you put 200,000 in, so you'll have 805 into it, less the 50,000, correct?
Yeah. So hopefully, yeah, if it comes in at that range, we're still okay. 750.
Yeah, I think 750 for a triplex in Britannia is pretty good. If it was in Gatineau, Quebec, you know, that would be a bit of a panic, because the rents in Gatineau are not quite what they are in Britannia.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. So did you do your cap rates?
Yeah, we did that. We've done that all already.
Yeah, I know that. I just don't remember. At 750, do you know what your cap rate is on the?
It was about 6.8, 6.7, but
yeah,
depending on the rents.
Anything over 6 is fine. You'll be okay then.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got to get through the project, and as I said, I need the resources to do some of that work. I don't have the people to do the work yet at this point still.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
I'm a month and a half, 2 months in already, right?
When do you think, I mean, just as a guess, when you might be finished?
Well, I was really hoping to have 2 of the units rentable by October 1st, but the way things are going, and until I see what the city says, I don't have a clue. Oh, there you go. Nice.
It's just a little e-bike.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to be a motorcycle guy, so those electric. They have like electric.
Yeah.
Real bike.
Well, this one's just a scooter, but I used to race bikes when I was younger.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, I raced trail bikes, little Honda SL 125s, and then I raced English bikes, Bonnevilles and Tridents.
Okay.
And that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing. All right. So let's move on.
All right. So let's keep going here. So yeah.
So tell me.
So it's a resourcing thing on the crack house now. I got to get the guys, and I got to get it done properly. Right now, as I said, I have a guy there. I'm paying $20 an hour, and he just does whatever I ask him on the day. Each day, could do this, do that, do this, but that's not sustainable.
No. It's you know, you'll be this time next year. You'll still be doing it.
Yeah. So I need the resources. I have a few guys. Once I get to the finishing stage, or once the structure's done, we can handle drywall. I got an electrician,
that's easy
I got
stuff.
Plumber, all that stuff. But I got to get the structural stuff done.
Yeah, the structural stuff, and Ali is both a plumber and an electrician. He's licensed.
Okay.
So
I'm really hoping those guys can come through for me.
I hope so too. And if something happens, Randy, if for some reason they can't do it or they decline, if you don't mind, can you email me? And if I have your permission, I will call them.
Yeah, I will. I would appreciate that for sure.
I would certainly do that because I think they will do it if I ask them to do it.
Yeah, they told
Um,
me quite honestly, if it wasn't for you, they would have
yeah,
run
well,
away for
you're right to
sure.
say that. So tell me about the financing. What are you going to do to find the other 100 grand?
Okay, so right now I'm selling my condo.
Yeah, I think that
Actually,
closes
closes
next
next
week.
week. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, third or fourth Tuesday. So that I'll have because I sold my boat as well, so I'll have 100 out of that. So the other plan was Terry Stewart. You remember Terry?
Before you do that, so you sold the condo goes next week, and you sold the boat, and between
Yeah,
those two, you get 100 grand.
yeah. When I
Okay,
pay off all my outstanding, because I have
good.
some. Anyway, yeah. So about 100.
And
There's
what
a
about?
100. That was 75 was the original budget for the crack house, so that was the money for the crack house. Now, obviously, we're way over that.
So
So,
what about Terry Stewart?
so Plan B, Terry Stewart. I've already been talking to him for about a month and a half on this. He's apparently moving the money, his RSP money, to Olympic Trust or Olympia Trust to do a second mortgage on one of my downtown properties at 10% for 12 months for 100 grand.
So as long as high cost finance, 10 or 12%, is a bridge to to something better,
Yep.
I have no problem doing that. And I trust Terry Stewart. As you know, he's a coaching client of mine, and
Yep.
he and Abe DeHaby run AdSmart Tech and do a lot of great work for me. And so another person I do trust. I think Terry's incapable of telling a lie.
Yep.
I
I've
really think so.
gotten to know Terry quite well lately. We hang out a bit. I've
Yeah,
helped him with his project. He's doing a basement apartment,
yeah,
and I helped him actually. He had to give an eviction notice, so he asked me to kind of come along because he's like me. He's a bit introverted and he doesn't
he
like to
is.
confront people, right? So
He's in sales at Rogers, but he's a bit introverted.
yeah, yeah, that's
I
okay. Anyway,
understand the contradiction.
yeah,
So one of the things that if Terry's willing to do that, in my opinion, you take that 100 grand.
yeah, yeah. So that's the plan right now. He's in the process of that. And then that would be leveraged on one of my Cambridge properties downtown,
Yep.
which will either get paid back when we refinance the crack house, when it'll be Alexander House, not the crack house, or we refinance the property downtown that the second mortgage is on. Because I have about 50% loan to value on that one right now. So
Yeah.
there's lots of
Exactly.
room on those to be refinanced. And that mortgage comes up next August or something, I think. So
Yeah,
we,
that's perfect. I'm doing a refi right now, and I have to
yeah.
tell you, it is painfully slow.
Well, the problem with the refinancing now, like I had trouble getting the financing on the crack house to begin with. Rick had to jump through lots of hoops.
Oh yeah.
So by next year, I'm going to have the same kind of problems, I suspect, with even refinancing because of my debt to income ratios. That's what they care about now. They don't care about how much equity you have, any of that stuff. So,
Well, I've had some reasonable luck with some of the B lenders.
mhm,
Speaking for myself, I don't mind paying 3.5 to 4.5% on some of the properties that I own,
yeah.
simply because I don't know if I told you this, but I did have a quite in-depth discussion with a very senior banker at the Bank of Nova Scotia
Mhm.
about 3 weeks ago, and she told me that all 5 of the major chartered banks in Canada are going to try and provide no new credit facilities either for individuals or corporations in Canada this year. That their primary mission is to survive. Like
Yep.
these banks, they have a different set of priorities than maybe most people think. It isn't to help you and me as entrepreneurs.
No, no,
It's
no,
to
no.
make sure that the bank is here. And I understand. I mean, she explained, look, Bruce, if you go to your ATM machine and you can't get any cash, and you use your credit cards and they don't work, and the Bank of Nova Scotia has gone out of business, and the Royal Bank has gone out of business, and if you think we're having a difficult time economically with lots of people unemployed, wait till the 5 major banks go broke. And then you'll really know it's not a depression. Then it's something else. It's a collapse. we will have an economy that is, you know, a fraction of the size of what it is
Yeah.
today. So that they, you know, individually, each bank has made up its mind to extend no new credit facilities. You know, I have a couple of lines of credit, and I was juggling them a little bit, and they said, well, what we can do is we can take the 65,000 and the 15,000 and make it 240s. I said, well, wait a second, 65 and 15 makes 80. 40 plus 40 makes 80. How does that help me? You know, I wanted to expand it a little bit just to get to 100 grand. And
So I guess that's what's driving this extra crazy real estate market right now is people are still trying to get mortgages and buy places while they can, maybe because the banks are closing their doors.
Well, they pretty much have, and so you will probably be dealing with B lenders for the foreseeable future. Me too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're going to be paying 3.5% or 4.5% rather than 2 or 3%. It's just the way it is.
Well, I don't pay that now anyway, so
Well,
I can't get any. I can't touch anything under. This one was 4.6, so.
Well, there you
that's
go.
the best.
You know, I have a credit score of I don't know, in the 800s. You know, so it's a pretty good credit score. It's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's good. What do you know? What your credit score is?
It used to be 835. I think it's changed slightly, but it was really good before.
Yeah, so it's over 800, which is
Yeah.
anything over 710 is fine.
Yeah.
But at over 800 is very good. Doesn't matter.
No, they don't care. Yeah, they don't care anymore.
No.
Anyway.
All right. So you can manage the financing between.
Yeah. So I got lots of backup plans. The other plan, and Gemma put it in the agenda again, is the cottage. We did not list it in the spring, as we talked about one of the earlier sessions.
Yeah, I remember that.
Gemma really doesn't want to sell it if we don't have to. I'm torn on the issue because it would take a big pressure off. I think right now the cottage market is fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
Maybe at its peak, so I can, sell that and take a big chunk of money and put it away and rent one every year for 20 years easily and won't cost nearly.
I'm with you on that. You know, and by the way, I would never buy a timeshare.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, so we looked at that because one of our friends is a lawyer and they talked about buying a part of a cottage. So I said, well, if I sell part of it, then that would be ideal. We can keep 25% and then, they have 4 families do the same thing. It sounds attractive. I've reached out to a few of my friends and nobody's really, they get all excited, but then when they see the actual numbers, they don't want to do it.
No, I have thought of it too, and because I own a cottage property as well. And, and like you, it's a bit of a burden on me. And, my wife doesn't want to sell it. My kids don't want to sell it, but they don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I do, and you do. And so I looked at some other options, like, maybe having 4 families, 2 families, 10 families share it. And I actually did some numbers on it like you did. And at the end of the day, I said, no, either we're going to find a way to keep it or we're going to sell it. There's no in between.
Okay.
So I would say the same thing to Gemma when it comes time to making up your mind about the cottage. So what we did with the cottage is one of the buildings that I have on site is perfectly suited. It's about 4,000 square foot building. Is perfectly suited to storage. Mm-hmm. And so I bought a number of containers from a company in New Brunswick called CoverTech.
Okay.
And I put, we're putting these containers into this building on the cottage property, and we're renting them out for storage. So people can just go there and shove their crap into, it's indoor storage, but, and that will add about, I think about $4,000 a month to the property, maybe a little bit more, maybe $5,000 a month to the property. So we're going to have storage containers, and we also have a loft, and we're going to store canoes, kayaks, and bicycles. And to get the canoes and kayaks and bikes to the loft, we actually have a pulley system, with slings, so you could do that, and you can put them. We have like canoe and kayak, holders, I guess, just it's like pigeonholes. You can put them in, and you can lock them up, of course.
Mhm.
And so we're going to store canoes, kayaks, bicycles, and we have a bunch of CoverTech containers in there. And we'll probably produce. Oh, and we're storing ATVs and motorcycles as
Will
well.
it pay? Well, can you generate enough income to pay for the property then? Is that?
So if we get to $5,000 a month, then the property is paid for. So I don't have to worry. So we still have the cottage, to enjoy, and the lake and everything else, but it's not costing me any money.
Yeah, if I could
And
get
like-
to that point. So right now we Airbnb it in the summer, but then it ends up being a lot of work as well.
Yeah, I'm not really keen, as you know, on Airbnb. It's way too much, way too much work for me.
And it pays probably 60% of the cottage right now.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad.
It's a big chunk of work too, right?
Yeah.
So as I said, I've been driving up there and back on days when I'm working another job to go fix something or do something. Right?
So these are the CoverTech containers that we're buying.
Yeah, cool.
And they're fairly mouse-proof too. I'm not saying it's, you never want to say anything's totally mouse-proof because I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, my property's not really suited for any kind of storage.
I'm not saying this is for you. This was something that because our property's in Dunrobin, so we've probably got 150,000 people living within 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, this one is, we're so isolated.
No. I'm not
Nowhere,
suggesting that. But
can't think of other augmented things to increase the rent other than, as we talked about already, like a pontoon boat and some other toys that people would pay for. But then again, those things will just get wrecked as well. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the right solution. The other solution that I was going to suggest on the cottage property, if you want to keep it, is to maybe go with a medium-term rental.
Mm.
And some of the people this year in particular who own cottage property that was on Airbnb, where you could rent it, Thursday to Sunday, or you could rent it for a week. They've gone to minimum rental periods of 2 weeks or even a month.
Yeah.
And so, you have basically May, June, July, August, September, maybe October. You've got 6 months. And so if you did a medium-term rental of, 2 weeks or a month, you're just reducing the number of changeovers you have.
Yeah, you didn't turnover. Yeah, that's true. As long as we then can book it for a month ourselves. So the thing is, we haven't used it in 2 years or more now ourselves because, well, we got the baby. But the plan is the future.
Certainly, if you put it on, I think Airbnb now allows you to set a minimum term of a month.
Oh yeah, I could do it. I could do a month on Airbnb as well.
Oh, I think you can. And so I think the medium-term rental market will produce almost as much income, and it's a lot less work. The other thing that has surprised me, and this wasn't my idea, it was my wife's idea, and that is half-price cottage rentals in the wintertime have proven to be very popular.
Yeah.
So I can't remember, is the cottage winterized?
Yeah, it's a house. I used to live there.
Yeah. So one of the things that you might do with it, people, my wife and I and our kids, we 2 Christmases ago, we rented a barn in the eastern townships of Quebec.
Yeah. I get renters at Christmas and New Year's week. I get renters always.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no other time. Like nobody wants to go there any other time. So it wouldn't matter what price. I'm not getting people in February, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there.
Well, we, another client of mine who operates Cabin Louvered. Have you ever seen that property?
No.
Because she does it a little bit differently, and she's really busy in the winter.
Hmm.
All right, so I'll tell you how she does it. Okay, you want the clue? I think she might actually be. She might be just as busy in the winter. I mean, the prices are lower, but I think she's almost as busy in the winter as she is in the summer. So let me show you what she does. Oops. All right. Okay. So this is Cabin Louvered.
Yeah.
And it's in Quebec. It's in Wakefield, Quebec.
Yeah, it's actually okay. It's near my lake, in fact.
Yeah, I don't think it's too far.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-bedroom cabin, and when she bought it, she and her husband John bought it for, I think, $330,000, or maybe it was $300,000 and $30,000 in renovations.
Yep.
Something like that. And she asked her realtor, Carrie Ann asked her realtor what she could rent it for. And he said, "Oh, I think you get maybe $900 a month." And then she called me for some coaching. And I said, "Carrie Ann, I think you should put this one on Airbnb. Even though I'm not really keen on it, I think your personality suited to it, and I think you could make it a success." And she has. It's been a phenomenal success. And I'll show you a little bit more. So this is Cabin Faubert. It is a 1-bedroom cabin, but it does have a loft.
Yeah.
Outside, it has a, what do you call this thing?
Hot tub.
A hot tub or jacuzzi? Jacuzzi?
Yeah.
Yeah, hot tub.
I call them hot tub, but
yeah, hot tub. I think that's better. Obviously, it has a barbecue and outdoor seating area. It has a little fire pit.
Yeah.
She decorated it. Carrie Ann is an amazing person.
Yeah, it looks nice. Huh?
So she put in great furniture. She does a lot with board games, lots with music, obviously a fireplace, lots of books. Everybody gets a free bottle of wine.
Nice.
They've got a little message board here. You can see that she doesn't have cupboard doors. She has barn doors. It's consistent with the cabin theme.
Yep. Yeah. Nice.
You know, this is the kitchen. Look at the bathroom. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
This is the bedroom, and again, you can see the shutters aren't shutters really. They're like more barn doors. You know, part of the theme.
Yeah.
This is this area. She's got little vending machines in there for popcorn. I mean, it's free. You know, you just put the seeds in, pops the popcorn. People love that stuff. Then here's the loft, and she's got a couple of bunk beds there. So if you have any kids, up they go. And here's what she did with it. She wrote a great ad on Airbnb, and she themed it as a romantic getaway.
Yeah.
So the worse the weather gets, February, November, you know, really bad, horrible weather.
Yeah.
The busier she is. You know, if you're fed up with the Ottawa winter, you book a weekend in her cabin, and so she's very, very busy year round.
Nice.
She's going to add some tobogganing. She's got walking trails. She's going to add a little skating rink. There's lots of places around Wakefield, I don't have to tell you this, where you can ski or snowboard. She's got Wi-Fi and Netflix, the bottle of wine, the hot tub, parking, play area, fire pit, barbecue. You can iron your clothes, desk and chair, music system, popcorn machine, Xbox and games and board games. And here's some of the reviews. The chalet is amazing. It's very easy to find. It's about 5 minutes to golf or ski at Idlewild and about 10 minutes to Wakefield. It's very nice and private. Neighbors are barely visible. Made our stay special with all the extra touches. There was a bottle of wine.
Nice.
And look at her occupancy rates.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, look at March. You remember how bad the weather is in March?
Yeah, March is totally
and then anyway, that's enough of that. So if you want,
so it is possible to keep our cottage. We'd have to do a bunch of that work as well, but again, it's more work.
Well, you just don't have enough to do. That's all.
That's the thing. It's more work for me to make a nicer Airbnb. Like I agree with the
listen,
highest and best.
Trying to be helpful. If you want to sell it, you and Gemma want to sell it. Damn it, sell it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep it, then you need to be busy 12 months a year.
Get it to pay for itself at least.
Yeah. And how many people can sleep in the cottage?
8 or 9 comfortably.
Yeah. So you have to theme it, and you have to theme it, as some place to get away. Maybe it's a romantic getaway. I don't know. You have to find your own theme for it. But once you theme it, people will come year round.
Yeah. Right now I try not to get more than 6 at a time because I don't want they're all on septic and well, and people destroy, like, I've had to go up a few times because people flush diapers down and clog a 4-inch pipe, right? It's like city people have no idea how to manage like.
Oh, they don't. You should have a little sign, please do not flush.
I have signs everywhere and they still do it.
Okay. Through Airbnb, you can charge them for that, eh?
Yeah, I haven't. They
You should, though.
they never take responsibility, right? It must have been the people before us. It wasn't us, right? It's never them.
Okay. All
You
right.
can never prove it, right? Because the guy comes with the machine and sucks it out, and it's like, oh, there you go, clunk. It was a diaper or whatever it was.
I got it. All right. So
I don't know what else was on the agenda, but
I've got a few other things here that Gemma put on the agenda.
keep
So
going here, yeah.
you're
Yeah, I asked
stuck.
her because I was doing a demo this morning. I didn't have time even to think about it. So.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think I sent this to you, but it was this morning, and I wanted to show it to you. I don't know if I can get it any bigger. Hang on a second. Get it on one screen here if I can. Yeah, that's kind of shitty, but I'll get it on there. So I wanted to show you something that I was all excited about it, and I shared it with you this morning, but I'll just show you what I sent you. So Cardel Homes is run, Cardel, Ontario is run by a friend of mine, Greg Graham, who follows me and my teachings, I guess you'd say. And he used to actually work for me at the Senators. And so this is one of their latest designs I wanted to show to you.
Yeah, I saw something on your email today.
Yeah, I sent it to you by email. And I was all excited about it when Greg told me they were going to introduce this room. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. It's kind of probably a little small, but it's called the Flex Room, and it's good for home office. It's good for your mother-in-law. It's good for a whole bunch of other things. And I thought, oh my God, and they've implemented the Gigaplex idea, but when he sent me the drawings, it wasn't quite there. I mean, it's getting closer, but it wasn't quite there. So if you can see it here, it's obvious, at least to me, that this microsuite, if it's going to be successful as an augmented tenancy, it should have had its own door here.
Yep.
So you come in here, that's the main house. You go in here, there's your little ensuite, or for that matter, your home office, where people don't have to come into the house to go to the office. Right now, if and when I ever get people back in my office, they have to come through my house, to have any coaching. So this would be great, except the door was missing. Then I really would have made this, if possible, a 0-step entry, using landscaping, not a ramp. I hate those ramps. They stigmatize the house. So I probably would have made this a 0-step entry, just simply because 24% of our market is going to be elders by 2032, according to CMHC. So they kind of missed that. And then when you look at the bathroom, doesn't have a shower. So they missed that. And then they need to add a privacy door here and here.
Well, they'd have to. You lose your pantry and the kitchen, and you lose your front hall closet if you're going to enter the house that way, though.
How do you mean?
Well, because that's the main entrance to the house into that flex room, right?
Yes, obviously they're going to have to come through this way, or you're going to have to come. These would be minor changes. You and I could figure it out pretty quick, right? Like what you could do is you could simply bring the foyer in here and move the kitchen back.
Yeah,
and screw the whole thing back. Yeah. It would be. I didn't sketch that up because I thought that was obvious, but maybe I should have. So this would be a full bathroom with a shower in it. It would have a micro kitchen in it, probably here, and so they were getting pretty close. And I thought just a few more tweaks, they would actually get it right. And the one thing that I wanted to say to you is that one of my clients, Randy, is going to he builds townhouses in Carleton Place very successfully. He's a young man worth tens of millions of dollars. I'm jealous.
That's the market now. Carleton Place and Perth and all that whole end is going to go explode.
Well, it is exploding. Do you know he's selling pretty ordinary three-bedroom townhouses in Carleton Place? The last one sold $40,000 over ask. He was asking $414,000.
I believe it.
And it's sold for $445,000. So yeah, $40,000 over ask, and 41,000 I think over ask. 445, and it's like an ordinary 3-bedroom townhouse. If I showed it to you, it's okay, but
Yep, Carlton Place.
in
Crazy.
Carlton Place.
Yeah.
But anyway, his next home set of towns are going to have. He's going to put a micro suite in at the ground level. And he's going to put in a lower level 1-bedroom suite. So when you get your townhouse in Carlton Place, the next set of townhomes, you will have potentially 3 income streams.
Yeah, you gotta have an income suite. That'd be great.
So he'll have an income suite at this level, right, with its own entrance, and he'll have the garden level or lower level with its entrance.
Bed sheet.
Sorry, Bruce. Excuse me 1 second.
Take your time.
A bed sheet.
Okay. So that's where I'll be.
You're trying to catch a duck.
With the weeks on, well, yeah, Mud Lake.
Why
Because
you?
it's injured. And it's got a hook in its feet.
And they need you?
Well, they are looking for volunteers, and it's been days.
Okay.
So I'm bringing both boards, and Stuart's going to meet me.
Oh, it's in the water
side.
side,
It's
okay.
going to come with a kayak.
Okay.
Good luck. Sorry, Bruce.
No problem.
Gemma's got to go save a duck, apparently.
That's important. So I wanted to show you a couple of other things while we have time. I wanted to show you this, and I did sort of send it to you sort of to prime the pump a little bit.
Yeah.
Clients of mine called me up. They want to put in an offer on this. I think there's 30 or 32 townhouses in Wendover, Ontario. Wendover's way in the east end of Ottawa.
Yep. Yeah, good growing area too, good rentals.
Yeah. And so they're finished, and it's 500 Ovana Crescent in Wendover, Ontario. They're asking about $6.5 million for the 30 or 32 towns. They're fairly new. They're all rented. So my clients are interested in buying it. But I said to them, to me, this is kind of I call this the blah model.
Yeah.
Because it's not that exciting. So I called it the blah model. And they said, well, come on, Bruce, you're an animation guy. What can we do with this? And after I talked it through with them, we did come up with I think a better model for them. But I was thinking about what you and Jim are trying to do in Britannia. And I think some of the blah model might actually be useful to you. And let me tell you what we are doing, or what they are doing in Wendover. So they're going to put in an offer on the place. And what they're going to do is they have their eye on an industrial building not too far from this place in Wendover.
Okay.
And it's similar to what clients of mine have done in Tamworth. I think I've told you about Carolyn Butts and Hans Honegger before. They're in Tamworth, Ontario.
Yep.
And this is Carolyn here on the screen, and that's her, both her business partner and her life partner, Hans, next to her. And they bought this old garage. It's 20,000 square feet, Randy. They bought it for $25,000.
Wow.
You can see here it's the lube station. You can sort of see that on here, and then service bay is here, etc. And
Yeah.
nobody else wanted it. But what Hans and Carolyn have done in Wendover is they bought a number of homes that they have renovated, and they put those homes on Airbnb, but again for medium-term rentals, not short-term.
Okay.
So let's say you're a tech company in Toronto or Ottawa or Montreal, and when the border was open, New York State, and you need to send a team of 4 or 6 people somewhere where they can live and they can work. This was their market and still is their market.
Yeah.
So they would do rentals of their homes, their apartments for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 months at a time. So medium-term rental furnished. And each one of those comes with a micro workshop in this building. So I don't know how many workshops they go up, but it's pretty big. It's 20,000 square feet. You can get a lot. So you could bring a team of developers to Tamworth, and you could, and it's not expensive either. They pitched it as a reasonable, as an economic, you know, sort of thing to do, as opposed to, you know, if you took a team of 4 or 6 developers and you went to Las Vegas, you're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you go to Tamworth, Ontario, you know, and I'll show you what they did with it. I think I've got some pictures in here. So this is what it looks like now. They call it the Bonn Echo Station, and you can get these workshops. And if you're an artist, a writer, a sculptor, you're fabricating something, whether it's for tech or anything else, or you're building things as a team, you can rent a workshop. You can rent some of their accommodation. You'll see some of their accommodation here. You know, I'm sorry the pictures are kind of small, but you get an idea that they, you know, these are nice buildings. They've renovated them nicely. They're super, super clean, but they're not renovated like you would say, you know, go to the Trump Tower in New York City. It's not that kind of thing. And they've been buying these buildings in Tamworth, not for very much money. They've been renovating them, and it has been an enormous success. So what I said to the boys before they put in this offer, I said, see if you, and there's lots of underused industrial buildings in the area, which they'll probably be able to buy very cheap, convert them to micro workshops, which could be as small as maybe 250 square feet or 300 square feet, as large as maybe 1,000. And when they did the cap rates on it, it was really pretty good. So buying this particular BLA investment will give them a cap rate of maybe 5%, but by combining it, by taking some of these units out of the long-term rental market and putting them into the medium-term rental market, and having a building not too far away where they can bundle it just the same as Carolyn and Hans have done, will probably bring their cap rate up closer to 7 or 8%.
Nice.
So one of the things I was going to ask you, and I did ask in an email, but you're so busy I didn't get an answer, was, is there one of your properties in Britannia, I'm not even sure how many you have, but is there one of your properties where you could put a workshop in the backyard?
Not a workshop per se. I want to put a couple of like sheds, and you know, I don't have a big enough space, more than, you know, 12 by 10 kind of.
That's not good enough. But is there a place where you could, on one of your properties in the backyard, where you could put a 400 or 500 square foot workshop? I mean, a real workshop.
Perhaps on my house street, but I don't, not permit wise, I don't think, because they wouldn't let, again, you can't have a shed bigger than a certain footprint, right? So a workshop would, I don't know how I would comply with the setbacks with a workshop.
Well, you'd have to ask somebody like Dustin rather than Bruce. But I know Dustin has been looking at that for a client of mine downtown. And she has, I think, an R4 zone. She has a triplex, but it actually has 4 units in it. She has a triplex with, I guess, a 4th unit. I don't know if it's legal or not. I didn't ask. But Dustin is quite confident that she can get a 400 square foot workshop in her backyard. It'll have plumbing. It'll have a bathroom. It'll have water. It'll have a little micro kitchen. It'll have internet. You can't sleep there. But I think what he may be doing is he may be, you know, he may file the building permit as a storage building, and somehow or other it might end up being a workshop. I'm not sure about that. You'd have to ask Dustin. But one of the things that I think I'm seeing is that, you know, I've got clients all across Canada now and some of the United States who are adding these. And Randy, I just want you to think about it. You know, Gemma asked me in the agenda that she sent me, Bruce, what should we think about in this little interlude that we're having, you know, while you're busy doing other things and we're not doing any coaching? And this is one of the things I was hoping that you and Gemma would actually think through. What is Randy's business model? We know that you want to become king and queen of Britannia, which I completely support. You're going to farm that community. But if you could animate your properties by adding some workshops, I really think that would be useful. And maybe next time you talk to Dustin, you could ask him, because I know he's worked through it on his one property downtown.
Yeah, I can definitely ask him that. And that's one of in my back pocket. There's actually a couple of really crappy bungalows right across the street from us,
Yeah.
that are like, one of them's ready to fall down. And because this is a floodplain area, they don't sell. Nobody wants to buy them. So I actually, in fact, talked to the one guy right across the road, which I thought, because they're crappy old cottages that need to be torn down essentially. So they'd be selling for land value, is build a huge garage, because one of my neighbors is like me, he likes cars and toys and man caves and stuff. So we'd build like a huge garage on the main floor, so we don't have a basement, so we don't have to worry about all that flood proofing, and then have a huge loft above it. And that loft can be split into 2 apartments. You rent those out, and then we have our own maker space, garage space. It'd be more for us as boys with our toys, but
But
certainly initially could be a rented or maker space.
I want to tell you, I have, I have lots of clients who are, kind of buying their first investment property, former students of mine who are now 30 instead of 20, who are buying their first investment property. They come to me, I guess, and ask for some help. But I've got some clients also who are, I have 2 billionaire clients, right? And this workshop thing, it is really, really something. I think it's a game changer, and I just want to show you or run through one more model just so you completely understand. So one of the things that we're noticing, some of the bigger developers I work with are noticing, is that their parking garages are emptying out.
Yeah, I saw that one, and yeah, there's a lot of those around here. The same thing, right?
Yeah.
Where they need, yeah.
So I wanted to tell you about another model that I want you to think about. And listen, I'm just trying to help here, and if you don't like any of the models, don't do them. But part of my job is to at least open up the possibilities, because if we can't animate your properties to the point where we go from 5 or 6% cap rates, or even 4 or 5 to 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, it's going to take a lot longer for Gemma and Randy to become king and queen of Britannia.
Yeah.
If we can get you to 9 or 10% as opposed to 6 or 7, you'd be amazed in 10 years what a difference that will make.
Yeah.
So one of my clients went to the city recently with help from me, and I'll just share my screen again so you can see the answer. He has a building. I don't know how many units. I think there's 300 units in this building, and he has, I think, 3 or even 4 levels of underground parking. This was built quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he has noticed that half or more than half of his parking spaces are now empty, that just not being used. So 15 years ago, if you lived in the apartment and you wanted a parking space, there was a waiting list. And now, because of light rail, because of bus transit, because of walking and biking, because of Uber and Lyft, and because people just don't want cars, like young people don't want cars, Randy.
Electric scooters are where it's at. Even not the one you have, but it's stand-up, the kick scooters.
Yeah. No,
that's what everybody's going to be driving in a few years. I was driving all summer to work from my park at my rental property and scooter down to work.
So he has probably 50% of his space empty. So I talked to him about converting some of those parking spaces to workshops. He was all over it. Yeah. So I asked a senior planner about that, and I wanted to know, this is in Ottawa, what his thoughts were. And this is what he wrote back. Very interesting. I think philosophically, if you were to ask me from a planning perspective, I wouldn't have a problem with that idea at all, the idea of converting parking spaces to workshops. From a zoning perspective, your client would need to do his due diligence to check if he would still meet parking requirements in zones or in the areas of the city where those still apply. By the way, Edmonton just eliminated all parking requirements, a very bold move from the capital of oil country. He was very positive about it. He's a very senior guy in the city of Ottawa. So when he wrote this, that counts for a lot to me.
So that the fellow? No, it's not the fellow that I met.
I can't really say. It's
Michael,
not fair to him.
I met one guy that was a planning guy, and
I can't really tell you who it is because it's not fair to him. I don't want to put him on the spot. But so what my client was telling me is, if he could rent them the most he could rent each parking space for was $100 a month each. He said,
Yeah.
and frankly, I can't rent them.
Mhm.
But assuming that he could get 2 parking spaces and rent them for $200 a month, he can convert that to a workshop, and he probably can get over $900 a month for it.
Yeah.
If he's planning to put in 20 in this one building, he's going to put in 25 workshops, which will give him an extra $18,500 a month extra income, about $220,000 a year. It gives him a net operating income after you subtract, property taxes and all the other good stuff, of around, I can't remember what it is. Anyway, he gets, it's 200, he gets an increase in the value of his property of $2.9 million from this conversion. So his cash flow goes up about $222,000 a year gross. And his building goes up $3 million in value. He says, Bruce, and he owns, I don't know how many of these towers, not just in Ottawa, but in Kingston and other parts of Ontario. He owns quite a few. He said, Bruce, after I do this one, I'm going to do 20 more of them. Think about that. So when I saw this, the other possible model for you and Gemma would be to find people in your area who have friggin' underground parking garages that are not being used. And there's another model here. You could go, you and Gemma, as part of your property management business, you could go and say, hey, listen, we'll build the workshops. The landlord will pay for it, not you and Gemma. You pay for we'll manage the project, and we'll put in 10 workshops or 20 workshops, whatever makes sense. You pay for it, but we'll manage those for you. It's like third-party Airbnb hosting. You remember what Jen Walton does?
Yep.
But third-party micro workshop management. And my coaching client, who's probably going to be the first one to do this, told me that he thinks he will attract better tenants, paying higher rents, and staying longer. He said, Bruce, once I've got somebody renting an apartment here and a workshop in the basement, running a successful business, they're never moving out.
Yeah, they're not leaving. Yeah.
They're not leaving. He said, I really like this. And he's all over, and he's got the money to experiment. Even if it failed, it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened to him. It's $20,000 for every one of those workshops. Well, it's not cheap.
Yeah. This might be an interesting concept for my reno for my Cambridge property. Instead of adding on to the apartments, do it as a workshop. It decreases the complexity of that addition
tremendously.
I don't have all the plumbing and all that like extra
tremendous
stuff
change
foundation.
But in terms of Gemma's third-party property, did you have to get going, by the way? I don't want to keep
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Okay, but we are making a recording of this, and it would be, I think, useful if Gemma does have time to watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
Because you're paying $1 million for this coaching session, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all kidding aside, I thought, I've got a client in Toronto. She's a young woman who's all over this model, and she is going to go and see some of these. I mean, for every tower we have in Ottawa, they've got to have 30 in Toronto.
Yeah.
And she's going to go and propose to actually run it for people, and she's going to charge. We don't know exactly what, but between 15 and 25% property management fee for this.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to be like Airbnb third-party hosting, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you don't do it for 6 or 8%, of the income. That you wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that Gemma brought up with me is people are asking you to supervise their renos, because you know something about animation, you know something about construction and all the rest of that, but they're asking you to do it.
So my friend Marcel, I was involved. I put the offers in. I did the inspection on the building. So we bought him a sixplex. He's a rich guy. He's a dentist, but he's a bit cheap, as I'm finding out as well.
Yeah.
So we bought him a sixplex. I think it just closed maybe within a day or two. It hadn't closed on time when it was supposed to, but it needs a new roof. Needs a few fixes. Got some vacant units now that we're going to reno. The building's worth 1.3. We could easily turn it into 1.8 in a year. So I said, here's my plan. here's my proposal. I'm going to property manage it for you. I'll take care of everything. You know, you just pay the mortgage and the taxes, and I'll take care of everything. I'll get, you know, I'll buy the tenants out because I had negotiated that with the seller to give some extra money to buy the tenants out, some of them, if they'll go. But now he's saying, well, because it doesn't even cash flow at the moment, so he doesn't want to pay, I said, 8% for the property management fee, you know, plus any, you know, $45 an hour for reno time, basically, for my guys. And then half a month's rent on turnover apartments, basically. So all pretty simple, straightforward stuff. So he said, well, yeah, but it's losing $1,000 a month right now. Two of his dentistry practices have shut down. COVID, so he's losing a bunch of money. He doesn't need the tax write-off. He just got separated. He sold his house, blah, 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 blah. So he can't, you know, he says, well, you know, long term, I can't afford a cash flow loss. So, you know, I'd like you to help me. I'll pay you for your time, kind of thing, but I don't want to pay 8% on the rents. I'm like, 8% is nothing really to do all, especially if I think now some of the tenants haven't paid the previous landlord. So there may be some evictions and all that stuff coming, which would be serious property management.
Randy, on your project management work, you should get 15% of that. So if you're supervising $100,000 renovation, you charge a minimum of 15 grand for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I have to, I either have to kind of walk away from them and just say, well, this is what it costs for my time. I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense.
Right. So what I would like you to tell him is that and I'm telling you, you can quote me, the cost to hire Randy and Gemma to help with this sixplex for this dentist or doctor? Dentist. The cost to hire you and Gemma to pay you 8% of the property management, of the gross income, the cost 15% project management fee, half a month's rent on every lease. The cost to hire you is going to be hugely negative. Hugely negative. You quote me and you say, look, my coach is Firestone. You may remember he's used to be with the Senators. I have him on tape because you're going to get a copy of this video. What you have to explain to the property management clients, potential third-party clients, is that you have a lot of experience. Gemma's gaining some experience. You understand the animation process really well. Yep. And you're going to take this fucking sixplex, excuse my language, this danged sixplex, and you're going to take it to a whole other level with all kinds of animation ideas. And so let's say he's paying you, let's say you're renting an apartment for, $1,500 a month, and you're not collecting the rent. 8% of nothing is how much? Nothing. If you take that $1,500 a month tenant who wasn't paying anyway, and you kick him or her out, and you animate the place with all the cool stuff that you and I have been talking about, and you get $2,000 a month, then your 8% is $160. But what is he getting? He's getting 92% of $2,000 instead of 100% of $1,500, which wasn't being paid. And 100% of nothing is still nothing.
Yeah.
So if he thinks a dentist who knows nothing about real estate will do a better job than you and Gemma, then wait 2 years when he has tenants who are just like the crack house, who are burning the fucking roof. Excuse my language, this pisses me off. And not paying their rent, and then he has to bribe them like this other guy to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Good friggin' luck. So you tell him the cost to hire you and Gemma will be hugely negative, and in the next 2 years, you will drive the value of this thing up at least at $500,000, possibly quite a bit more. You will make it cash flow positive, but he is going to pay you to do that, or you are not going to do it. You have so much on your plate. Why are you going to work for somebody else for free? That I don't understand.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's basically what I told him, right?
Good. But tell him there you go. So yeah. The last thing that Gemma had on our list was, how is she going to get her property or your property management business off the ground? Okay.
Yeah,
And
with all
so-
our spare time, we're not
Well,
going.
she asked, so.
I know that's the problem is we haven't really started.
No, I'm okay with it. Do you have, I was gonna ask Gemma if she was on the call with us. Do you have a name for this thing yet?
Yeah, it's Diamond Property Management. I got
Okay.
T-shirts even. I've
Yeah,
got the
yeah, I
T-shirt.
remember that. And
I think I
Diamond,
brought you a T-shirt, didn't I?
I don't know. I'd like to
I
have
brought you
one.
a T-shirt when I came to your house.
Okay, maybe.
Sure, but,
Diamond Property Management. What's the tagline?
we don't have a tagline yet.
Well, you know, that I want you to work on.
Yeah,
Do you have a website yet?
no.
Okay,
Well, I have a domain,
that's
but I
good.
don't have a
Oh, that's a
website.
start.
Yeah.
So I want you to have, come up with a tagline, you know, Prof. Bruce. You remember my tagline?
No,
Geez, I must be the least important person in your life.
I got too much in my
Making,
brain.
making impossible possible.
Making impossible possible.
I own a storage company called Blue Heron Storage. Its tagline is out of sight. So I think taglines are important. So, you know, Diamond Property Management, nothing wrong with that. You know, it's kind of rhymes with dynamite. So you might want to come up with a tagline that has dynamite in it, you know? You know, just because, you know, dynamic and I can't even say.
Yeah, Gemma's good at that stuff. She's used
But
to do
come up
PR.
with a tagline. It's really important, right? You know, what's Nike's tagline?
Do it. Just do it.
Just do it, right? Do you know Verizon's tagline?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
always laugh because it's always silly because we say it at work all the time. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
No, but what's better than having a tagline that becomes part of the English language?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Apple's tagline?
No.
Think different.
Mm.
Okay, so come up with a tagline that's kind of cute, it's funny. Certainly, you know, dynamite comes to mind whenever I hear dynamite. You know, dynamite property management, or come up with something.
Blow up your rentals. Blow up your rentals.
Yeah. So okay, so number one, get a website, get a tagline. That's good. Number two, try not to sell first to friends and family.
Okay.
They're the worst people to sell to. They want everything for nothing. They don't value you and your time the way that say I would.
Yeah.
So tell Gemma, maybe we don't go to friends and family first. Next, you remember my friend Dane Dore? We talked about it when we did proper property management.
Yeah.
He manages over 600 doors. Do you remember what his magic marketing button is?
Something easy, like the easy button.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the easy button. You know, this one here, right?
Yeah.
That was easy.
But his magic marketing button was what you see on the screen here. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, the signage, yeah.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. He puts up 4 rent signs next, I mean, he manages well over 600 doors, right?
Yeah.
And so in front of every one of his properties, you can see this: 4 rent, 3-bedroom unit, 1-bedroom unit, 1-bedroom unit, Dore Property Management. And he didn't have a tagline. And we came up with one. Oh, geez, I should remember it. It was pretty good. Something like Doors by Dore. You know, something like that. I may not have it quite exact.
Yeah, so that was the plan for the crack house too, is once I get it ready, then that's where the big sign goes, because it's coming right into our neighborhood, right?
Exactly. And
So
what he told me is that this sign, which is obviously addressed to tenants, is these, and he's got lots of them up, right? This sign is the #1 generator of leads for landlords. Because I guarantee it, in Britannia, all the landlords there, most of them, hate their property managers.
Yep.
So they're going to see, you know, Doors by Dore, DoreRentals.com. They're going to check out the website, and they're going to call Dan and his people and say, "Hey, listen, I've got Acme Property Management managing my property right now. You know, they don't answer tenant calls. They allow maintenance to build up. So we've got a lot of deferred maintenance and it gets worse and worse, not better. You know, some of them have cheated us. You know, they've said, you know, we've got 4 vacancies when there are no vacancies. They're collecting the money in cash, right? So you know, landlords are always getting cheated by their property managers, and they're not happy. So how many buildings do you have right now in Britannia?
Just the 3.
So could you put a sign in front of all 3?
Yep. Well,
So,
one of them, the condo's going away, so no. But
well,
yeah, two.
two then.
But once it's ready, once the crack, I'm not putting anything in front of the crack house yet.
So what I would do if I were Randy and Gemma, though, is I would have one side saying for rent, and on the other side, I would say Dynamite Property Management. Are you a landlord? Do you want to hire, you know, return on investment? Do you want happier tenants? You know, and one of the things that Dan didn't put on his signs, but he will now, is not only a phone number, but an email address.
Yeah.
There are lots and lots of people now, more all the time, who actually don't want to talk to people on the phone. They want to email.
Or
So
text, yeah.
what I want on, this is my suggestion for you, Randy. On one side, it says, you know, for rent, you know, beautiful triplex, 2-bedroom units, blah, 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 all this good stuff. And on the other side, are you a landlord? Do you want higher return on investment? Do you want happier tenants? You know, call or email Gemma or Randy, you know, put a phone number there and put an email address.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're a few months away from this stuff because we still need to get all our back office set up so we actually can handle it, right?
Yep.
So
But
a couple months away from
that triplex of yours is, I mean, how many people who live in the village go by that every day?
Well, yeah, that's the key. You have to drive down that road. That's one of the
pretty
reasons
much
I
do.
bought that property, right? So
Correct.
that I could do that.
So
yeah.
I have another suggestion for you, and I want you to make sure that Gemma sees this. She might like this. The other thing that I would probably do, and this is, I have a client out in BC on Vancouver Island who's doing this now. Are you familiar with the Little Free Library program?
Yeah, we even have some of those, just like a makeshift version of that in our neighborhood. Yeah.
Well, you can buy these. They're not very expensive. You can buy them from the Little Free Library. You know, you can order them. And I would put them up in front of your buildings. And what I would have is I would have Diamine Property Management on one side, and on the other side, you might have a pizza shop on the other side.
Yeah, sponsor it.
Sponsor it. And so that it actually is a income generator for you, but it's also generating PR for Diamine.
Yeah, I like it.
Right. So, you know, let's say you end up with 15 buildings in Britannia Village. Then, you know, what some of my clients are doing, anyway, this lady I coach in Vancouver Island, is she's putting these out in front of her buildings, and she's putting a bench next to them. So, you know, hey, you know, and she says it's hilarious. These days, you get little kids, you know, reading and you know, and she even puts board games in there.
Right.
So she's got a little bench and a picnic table. It's got a little roof on it, and sort of that's what she's doing.
Nice. Can we? I have another topic to go to if you got a few minutes, though.
Yeah, I do. I have lots of time for you, but before we do that, I just want to make sure I get through this because she asked me specifically for it, so we're going to record it. All right?
Perfect. Yeah. I like the signage. I like the library thing too.
I think it'll be awesome. So the other thing that I'd like you to do, you and Gemma to do in the few months that you're taking off, is I want you to build an email list of people in Britannia, you know, who own rental properties if you can. And it's very easy to do that. You look on Kijiji.
Yeah.
And it'll say, you know, hey, my name's Bill. I've got a building in Britannia. I've got an apartment for rent. Email me now. And what a lot of my clients do, is they email them and say, look, I'm not interested in renting your apartment, but Gemma and I are really experienced at property management. We've done it for ourselves. We've done it for other people as well. And if you have time, we'd like to talk to you about it. And what I'd like to do when we restart coaching, if that's what you want to do, is I think you and Gemma and I should do a free webinar. It might be February by the time we get to it, but we should do a free webinar. And it doesn't matter if there's only 4 or 5 or 6 people at the webinar, if it's the right 4 or 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you and I and Gemma can talk to them and say, look, the cost to hire Randy and Gemma is a negative cost. And here's why. These people will know nothing about animation. They will know nothing about how to juice their cap rates. But you and I know that.
Yep.
All right. And the other thing I would do is, you know, I would probably do 2 more things. I'd probably start a blog as part of Diamond.
Yeah.
And you know, you've seen, you know, you're welcome to reprint any of the articles that are on my blog, as long as you credit them. You don't
Yep.
say I wrote this. You know, my coach, Prof. Bruce, wrote this, and it's, you know, I've got. If you go to my blog, you know where my blog is, right?
Yeah, I get your
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got 1 million articles there, so you could populate your blog with some of these articles, as long as you say, look, this is a reprint from Bruce's blog, and put a link to my blog so that at least they can know it's there. But you should start a blog, and a couple of other things that I think you and Gemma should do. It's fun, is just take your camera and do just, you know, a Q&A with Gemma. You know, if you're more comfortable on camera and she's more comfortable asking the questions, fine. She's frankly better looking than you are.
Yeah, so, she's better in front of the camera than behind.
Well, you know, look, I mean, you know, they shouldn't take pictures of anybody over 50, and I'm well over 60. So, you know, if it was a choice between me and my wife, I would definitely put my wife on camera. But what you should do is you should do some short videos where it's just a Q&A. And you can put, have you got a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not used, but I have one.
Yeah. So those are huge. Okay. So, you know, if I were interviewing Gemma, I would say, so Gemma, you know, I know you have some experience, you know, with property management. In fact, you own some properties of your own, don't you? Yes, we do. And you bought, I wouldn't call it a crack house, but you bought a very difficult property. What did you do with it? And you could talk about the animations, and you could show the before and after pictures, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, you could show the fire. Remember the fire pictures you sent me?
Yeah.
And all the troubles and struggles you had. What a great story.
Yeah, once we're done that one, we'll have all the marketing we need for sure.
Correct. All right. So that's what I want you guys to think about. Your business model. I want you to think about that workshop thing. I want you to think about, you know, your property management business. And I really would like you guys to get that off the ground, because it will help Gemma, you know, like Dane Dore makes a lot of money doing what he does because he's really good at it. And there's no reason why you and Gemma can't not only manage your own properties, but become the king and queen of Britannia Village by owning 10 or 15 properties of your own and managing another 20 or 25.
Yeah, and then anybody who needs a rental in Britannia, they're coming to us.
They're coming to you. All right. Now, what's your next subject?
So, a problem tenant. I've been struggling with one guy. It kind of started with the COVID, but he actually came up with the rent the first month. So he's paid, now he's about $1,200 behind. I haven't given him a notice to evict yet. We've been having, you know, text messages. He's always had amazing excuses, incredible. He had 2 deaths. He had horrible burns where the doctor wouldn't let him work. He's behind on his rent. I gave him some work to do. Again, this is kind of rhetorical because I know exactly what I have to do anyway, but I just want to talk it out. So I put him to work. He's showed up a couple times lately. Back in June, I had him do some work in the backyard. Ended up costing me about $450 for probably 10 hours of work, which anyway, not really worth it. So I put him to work on the crack house and doing some other stuff with my friend Gary, who's doing work with me. He showed up twice in 2 weeks, basically did 4 or 5 hours of work. And then, of course, he had seizures and had 3
Oh.
CAT scans last week. And so I said, well, okay, Zach, well, if I can't count on you to, this is all by text message. I said, well, I'll have to, there's only one other choice I have for to recover my rent. So then he flipped out, of course, by text, said, I thought you were a good landlord, blah, 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 blah. Do what you have to do, throw me out, whatever you want to do, I don't care. So basically, I can't, and he said my work is dangerous as well, and it's putting him at risk and blah, blah, blah. Because obviously he's working on a reno project, but anyway.
Right.
I can't get him to do any work anymore.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion, Randy?
Please do.
When my tenants tell me, oh yeah, look, yeah, we can cut the grass. If you give us $75 or $100 off the rent, we'll cut the grass.
Yeah.
Here's what I say. No.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is, look, most of my tenants, all of them, I think, are really busy, and cutting the grass is a very low priority for them. Yeah. And it's not that, I don't think that they're lying to me when they tell me, sure, we'll clear the snow, we'll cut the grass. And you go buy the property and the grass is knee high, and you're about to get a notice from the city saying, yeah, if you don't cut your grass, we'll do it and we'll charge you $500. Yeah. And cutting the grass for $500, well, no, we can do it for $30. So tenants are always offering this kind of thing to me and to other people I coach, and I coach them to say no to every one of them. Yeah. And the reason for that is they're not professional property managers. You are. Yeah. And so to expect, people demean property managers, but the good ones like Dane Dore and Brian Dagenet are really good at what they do, and it's a skill. Yeah. And if you and Gemma, when you and Gemma get your Diamine property management off the ground, it's professional, and you'll have professional people. One of the great frustrations in life, Randy, is to ask people to do things and then you have to argue with them. Yeah. That I will not do. I had to fire one of my kids once from a job. She was so bad. And I love her dearly, but I said, today is your last day on the job. Oh, why? Because you're really bad at it. And every time I would ask her to do something, we had to have a debate over it. Well, I don't have time for that. And then I wouldn't just have to check up on her once or twice. I'd have to check up on her 3 or 4 or 5 times, make sure she did it and remind her. I just don't have time or energy for that. Never did and never will. So I think in this case, the answer. Don't do that again. Yeah. Don't.
No, and I have to basically, if he says now he's going to make a plan to pay the rent, the back rent and everything, and I'll have to take him at his word at that, or I'll have to give him his eviction notice the first of the month, right? So.
But what I would do is he owes you how much again?
About $1,200 and back in like a month and a half. So.
Yeah. So when's his next rent due? I guess in a few days.
Yeah, the first. So he says he claims he's going to pay the back rent. But so I'm going to send him. My plan was to send him a basic breakdown of the accounting to date where we are.
Yeah.
And ask him what his plan is, and if he can communicate that plan before the 1st.
That'd be great.
Because his last text said he had a plan to pay it, and if he doesn't pay it, I'm gonna give him his notice, and there's nothing.
Yeah,
I know he's gonna stop paying at that point anyway.
Yeah, he may well be doing that. So I would probably give him the 1st of August or the 2nd of August or even the 3rd of August to pay. How much is his rent? On
like $895. It's cheap. So it's a basement apartment, super cheap.
Yeah. So so if he says, "Look, I'll pay $895 on August 1st plus another $200." So over the next 6 months, I'll catch up on the $1,200 I owe you.
Yeah.
I would accept that.
Yeah, if he comes with something, like he doesn't come with anything.
So I wouldn't threaten him with eviction. I would simply say, "Look." And if he doesn't come up with a proposal, then you should propose it to him, because that's what I did as a landlord, both on the residential side and on the commercial side, Randy. So I had lots of commercial tenants who would, I had over 1 million square feet of commercial office and retail space. And so sometimes, tenants, instead of talking to me, they would do a midnight move.
Okay.
Because in commercial, you know, if they don't pay, 2 weeks later, you can kick them out, you can lock them out.
Yeah.
So instead of risking losing their office equipment and furniture, they would sneak out at night.
Sneak out. Yeah.
But I let all of my tenants know if they were in financial difficulties, they should talk to me. And so what I typically would do is I would reduce their rent by half for 3 months and sometimes even 6 months, and then they would catch up over the next year.
Yeah.
And I probably saved about 50% of our tenants from going under that way, you know, which was pretty big over the years. So I'm all in favor of making deals, but he has to live up to it. Now, if he says, look, I'll pay you $895 on August 1st plus another $200, so about $1,100, and I'll do the same thing for the next 6 months, and he does it on the 1st of August, fine, and on the 1st of September. But the moment that he fails to live up to that, then you have to evict him.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's been dragging 3 months already. As I said, I've put him to work. I've done all these, you know, all the possible things.
I hope you don't mind me saying that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Don't do that again, and make sure that Gemma doesn't do that either. If a tenant can't pay, you make an arrangement of some sort, and hopefully they live up to it. If they don't, you do serve them with an eviction notice, and that's it. And they'll absolutely stop paying you. You have to go through the process, and you bite the bullet, get rid of them. But you know, asking for, you know, make goods, I bet you 98% of the time that's going to fail.
Yeah, it's strange. It's like he's a hardworking guy when you can get him to actually. I think there's obviously a drug or alcohol or both problem going on. I've heard other stories.
That sounds very likely. Unfortunately, that you know, to me it's a wonder that our economy even works. The number of people with, I mean, every week they're coming up with a new condition. You know, people say, yeah, I've got, you know, I've got a blocked nostril, I can't work, you know, I mean, and they give it a name, you know, it's a new condition.
Well, sure the nice thing, if you ever did go to landlord-tenant board, then I don't have to ask the question. I can just say, well, obviously, if you have all these medical problems, there'd be some evidence. So show the court all your CAT scans. And
as far as I know, you know, having a medical issue is a serious problem for sure, but I don't think a medical problem per se is a good enough reason to not pay your rent.
To not pay your rent, exactly. Borrow the money from your mom. I'm not your mom.
I mean, I don't think the landlord-tenant board will say, well, look, we're sorry that you have headaches. You know, headaches are bad, you know, or if you've had a concussion, I've had a few. I used to be a boxer. I had, as a kid, you know, I had a few concussions, I could tell you. And, you know, you get fairly gray. But you know, it's foggy. But you know, that's just life. You know,
I've gone to work on crutches with a broken leg, and I had to put my leg up on the desk to work.
Yeah, I've been there and done that too. So I'm not. I don't think you and I should hold ourselves up as the be all and end all of anything. But
No.
I think if he's really struggling with alcohol and drug issues and health issues, there are things like disability pensions that he probably should apply for.
Yeah, well, he's on EI now, and he claims that the EI and the CERB are getting confused, so that's why he hasn't got any money from anybody.
That I think is not very likely.
I'm not buying it anymore. It's been
one of my daughters got laid off. She applied for the CERB benefit. She had to answer 2 questions.
Yeah, you get it every month.
One, did you make $5,000 or more last year? And 2, have you been laid off on account of COVID-19? If you answered yes to those 2 questions, 48 hours later, you had $2,000 in your bank account.
Yep.
That is a fact. 8.2 million Canadians got the CERB benefit. So he would be one of the 8.2 million who didn't get it. I'm sorry. That's just very unlikely.
Well, especially when I live in the neighborhood and I see him at the beach bar drinking too. So.
Well, you know, like as you know, if you have a drug or alcohol problem, your priorities have been inverted. The next fix or the next bottle of rye is all you can think about, and you know he's drinking the CERB away, or shooting up. So unfortunately, there's no remedy for that. But see if he can come up with $1,100 on August 1st, $1,100 every month thereafter, and he can stay. But if he doesn't, Yeah, he's done. And don't offer any more work.
No, I can't now because he's saying my work is dangerous. So if he hurts himself, then I'm
Then you're really in
I'm
trouble.
even more down the tube. Yeah, no. As soon as he said that, I knew right away.
No, good for you.
Yeah.
Randy, I really enjoy your company. I do. I'm sorry I didn't get to see Gemma today. We've recorded this. I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll send you the link. And I'm expecting really big things over the next few months. And
Yeah.
if you don't mind, just keep in touch as well. So let me know how things are going.
We will do that for sure. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
We'll be back in touch soon.
I can't wait.
Bye-bye.